Hello and good afternoon. Good afternoon and good afternoon to folks here in the United States. Good morning to some folks in the United States, also in the United States to put it right. Good evening to folks in Liberia. Of course, this is the hour of politics. As always, with me, Ansony Sieh. This is a kind of edition that will be biting. It will be analytical as usual. I will be tough. I will be firm. I will be swinging as I go into these issues that I have packaged for you in today's edition of the Hour of Politics. And of course, your network is focused on Liberia. What do we have for you in this edition? You might be thinking, number one, will Aspirant Councillor Tiawan Gongloe stripped boost his presidential bid? Mr. Gongloe is here in the United States, so we will be looking at whether or not his U.S. trip is going to boost his bid for the Liberian presidency. He's here in the U.S. Also, Vice President Joseph Boakai takes the criminal witness stand in the Cummings trial. So we will be looking at that carefully. Today, actually having to be day two of the Cummings, day two of Boakai's testimony in this Cummings trial. And for those who probably focus on Liberia, we had our cameras there today. Our reporter Tiawan and was there, and he brought all of the happenings as those things were going on. He talked to some of the players, and so we will be touching on that. But what I'm going to do today is not to go into the nitty-gritty of what is actually ongoing at the Temple of Justice grounds there in Monrovia at the Magisterial Court. I will be looking at the political aspect of it. What is the angle? Why are these men up to? That is what I will be doing. I don't want to waste my time with that court case. And the last thing I will be doing also is looking at the 2022 approved national budget. There are numbers in there that got me thinking, really. So I will be looking at the budget, but again, I will be taking a political look at it. I will be, looking at the opposition. So where is the opposition? What is the alternative from the opposition? If the budget is this bad, what is the opposition? Do we even have an opposition that is going to look at the budget and maybe put forth an alternative or critique the budget at least? Well, I know you know where the opposition is, and we're going to bring all that to you. So, folks, these are the three topics that I have packaged to bring to you in an analytical fashion. And hit the share button. Let us get started here quickly because time is fast spent. Stay tuned, folks.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Ansony Sieh. The first issue here is, will Aspirant Councillor Tiawan Gongloe US trade boost his presidential bid? Will it do that? That is why I want to talk about quickly for 10 minutes. So, presidential aspirant Tiawan Gongloe, we know to be a progressive, somebody from the progressive community who has ventured into this political race for the nation's highest seat, the presidency, in effort to cement his presidential run, has made a trip to the United States where he is currently. I believe he might be in Atlanta, or maybe he left, but he was in Atlanta over the weekend. Focus on Liberia was invited to cover the event, and we were there. And we just want to give you a little report on that. First of all, what was the purpose of Tiawan Gongloe's trip to the US? You might want to know. Well, the purpose is, to touch base with diaspora Liberians who too have stake, right, in the political life of our country, in the survivability of our country, for the forward march of our country, Liberia. These Liberians too want to see the country moving forward. More so, diaspora Liberians are the ones who have, consistent income, and they contribute positively to Liberia. And so Tiawan Gongloe, looking at the potential of the diaspora Liberians, he decided to make a trip to the United States to share with them his interest to be president of Liberia. And the other reason is for him to be able to raise funds. He needs money to run for office. If you don't have the money, it's going to be difficult. And where would Tiawan Gongloe rather be other than to come to the US, where there are several thousands and thousands of Liberians who are working and they can afford $100 and more to contribute to his presidential bid. So he came to the US, to see how not only to connect himself with diaspora Liberians, but also to raise funds from the Liberians, some of whom are his supporters. But let's talk about the event that took place in Atlanta, and Focus on Liberia was invited. We were there. We took our cameras, as I said earlier. I got a little disappointed from what I saw. So we were there. First of all, they put out public information, which is a flyer informing the public that the program was scheduled to start at 5 p.m. So my partner, Dennis Jai, we were there on the dot 5. And just to realize that information they put out, that the program was to be starting or scheduled to start at 5, was not actually the exact time or actual time they had planned to start. When we got there, we entered the hall. There were very few people there. So we waited, we entered, and we look at the souvenir program, and we realized that the program was actually scheduled to start at 7. So they put out 2 pieces of information, one to the public saying 5, and then at the program, they are saying the program is going to start at 7. So you don't want to do that. I mean, that is not right. You can't be telling people that the program will start at 5 when you actually intend to start the program at 7. Now, howbeit, so from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, Focus on Liberia had to wait for 2 hours. We patiently waited. 7 o'clock came by, and yet the program could not start. So we said, well, let's give it an hour. So we gave it an hour. And during that time, between 7 and 9 o'clock, we went live. There were a few folks there. We talked to them, and then, they answered some questions from us. And so we shut the broadcast down, and we were waiting to see that the event will come on at least an hour after it was scheduled to start, but that did not happen again. So then they said, well, then let us wait up to 9 o'clock. So we waited from 7 to 8. The 7 o'clock program could not start. We waited up to 9 o'clock. The 7 o'clock scheduled program again could not start at 9 o'clock. That was when we were like, no, this is not the place to be. We can't be waiting for 2 hours. And the question is, Tiawan Gongloe is running, and all the candidates running say they're running on change, right? And if anybody should be running on the message of change, of course, Tiawan Gongloe should be one of those persons. We will say for the fact that Tiawan Gongloe is an excellent public servant. He has set a good example in terms of his public record. Tiawan Gongloe has no stain in terms of corruption on his record. But when you are running and you want to change the country, you want to change behavior, and one of the things that we Liberians are having issue with, which is a shame on all of us parts, or let me say most of us part, is the issue of time. We do not respect time. And if we are to make a change in our country, we must respect time. So Tiawan Gongloe, the candidate to be the aspirant, I'm sure he was informed that the program was to start at 7 because he was the man of the event. So he was informed. There's no question about that. Why was he not at the event at 7 o'clock? I was communicated. Tiawan Gongloe was nowhere to be seen. Up to 9:15 when we left, Tiawan Gongloe was nowhere around to be seen. That is unfortunate. I would have loved Tiawan Gongloe to be there at 7, since the program, according to the souvenir, was scheduled at 7. He needed to be there at 7. If no one should not have been there for some reason, and if there was anyone who needed to be there at that time, that person needed to be Tiawan Gongloe, because he needed to set the example. We have to change our behavior when it comes to time. But Tiawan Gongloe, the aspirant, the candidate to be, was nowhere to be seen at 7 p.m. I would have loved to see Tiawan there, shaking hands and talking to folks, and because some of the people said they were there to listen, not that they supporting him, but they want to listen to him. But Tiawan was not there. And that did not go down well with me. And I would not hesitate to say that that was unfortunate. When leaders are scheduled to be somewhere, they must be there at the scheduled time. That is how you provide leadership. That is how you set the example. So why was Tiawan not there on time? If he was not there on time for any reason, that was not communicated to us, the media, who went there to cover the event. That was not the right thing to do. So where is the change in attitude and behavior? Now, the organizer themselves, you organize a program at 7 o'clock and you are not prepared to start, and you say you are doing this for Tiawan Gongloe. So they failed Tiawan Gongloe by scheduling a program at 7 and they were not there. Tiawan Gongloe himself dropped the ball big time when he knew the program was scheduled at 7 o'clock and he was not there at 7 o'clock. That was sad. We need to change attitude, all of us, in every way possible, especially when it comes to time. We need to respect time in Liberia, and it must start with our leaders setting the right example. And Tiawan Gongloe, whatever the reason was not communicated to us, but the fact that it was scheduled and we're not informed why he was running late and he was not there on time, that was unfortunate. And that is not the kind of message Tiawan Gongloe, who is far behind in this race, should be showing, especially in the US, right? So I know this is a general behavior from all of us. And, Liberians organize events. Most of them are not there on time. What is the Liberian time? They call it, there's nothing such as Liberian time. Time is time, and time is universal. And leaders should be able to set that example. If Tiawan Gongloe wants to be that example, he must show it with the time as well, and not only his popular record of being a clean person. So the thing is, Tiawan Gongloe win this thing? Does he have it in him to win it? He has issue of raising money. He's just starting. He's many months behind, if you can pull it that way. And so is Tiawan going to win this thing? Can he as an individual win it? But let me quote what Tiawan said. Tiawan said he's going to win this thing and he's going to win it in the first round. I respectfully disagree with Tiawan Gongloe. That statement is not realistic if you look at our election history. Besides Cllr, who won an election through a state managed or internationally managed election, where Liberians have, psychologically guns to their neck, and their election of Cllr was only in search for peace. That was the only election I know since the 90s for one candidate to win in the first round. Other than that, all other elections, the election of 2005, the election of 2011, the election of 2017, in fact, were more popular candidates. Awia and Ellen, these were very powerful. These have been popular individuals in Liberian politics. They could not win. So, and these are people who actually left. In the case of Wia did not contest just for the first time. He contested for the third time before he could win, and that win was not even in the first round. This is Tiawan Gongloe from my history. I mean, from what I know, has not contested for the presidency. I don't know if he did for the Senate or representative before. That is not to my knowledge. I know he contested for the bar that he won. But for Tiawan, who is not a known national participant in terms of electoral politics, to say that he will win when there's no history of anybody winning in the past 3 presidential elections, to say that he will win, I don't believe it, and I'm not buying it. Now, if Tiawan is to win, how would that happen? It has to be through collaboration. All other individuals or candidates who won in the past 3 elections, they did it through a collaboration. For example, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, she brought a few other parties together to make the Unity Party bigger, the Lab and other parties, and then she won. And then we have to form a coalition despite of his popularity as a second icon in the war. President Weah could not win election all by himself through his party, the CDC. He has to go to what? A collaboration. And so for Tiawan to have said that, I think that was far-fetched. And if Tiawan is to win, Tiawan is to form a collaboration. And what kind of collaboration can Tiawan put together? Where will the parties come from that he will collaborate with? The bigger parties are the ones that stand a better chance of winning if they come together. And from what I see, it is much more unlikely for Tiawan Gongloe to go in a collaboration with any of these bigger parties to be the head. The bigger parties in the opposition are the Unity Party, the ANC, and the Liberty Party. Tiawan cannot go in a collaboration with any of these parties to be the head, except he wants to join the LP, the Liberty Party, because the Liberty Party, as far as we know, does not have a presidential candidate as yet. But even at that, the politics there is Cummings is in there and Boakai is in there. They each have their side. So if Mr. Gongloe goes there, what side is he going to pick? There's nothing left there. So Tiawan Gongloe winning this is one of the slimmiest I have come to know, and more so the party he comes from. The Liberian People Party is one of the oldest political parties in Liberia that has been in political coma for years. They couldn't resuscitate it when some of the progressive self in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, they were all on their own doing their own thing. I mean, how come they could not have prepared for this day? So Tiawan has a lot to deal with, and looking at all the political variables and looking at the political climate and the opportunities that are there, I don't see much there for him to make it. If Tiawan is to win, the only way it's going to happen is when he becomes the head of a formidable collaboration that will preach the message of, I don't know, for lack of better word, political righteousness, to preach the message of integrity. There's the new thing now in Liberian politics they call clean hands, accountability, and the message of working economic crime school. Only if Tiawan is or were to be a candidate on a collaboration backed by the entire opposition and then preach this particular message of change, of accountability, of transparency, of clean hands, then Tiawan will have an absolute chance to winning it in the first round. And this case can also be true with any other person some people in the opposition. Can't just be any other person in the opposition. But that collaboration, I don't see it. I don't know when he's going to put it together. I don't see where the parties will come from to make that happen. So it's more like Tiawan Gongloe might be auditioning here for a vice presidential slot. That means it will be contingent on whoever has interest in picking Tiawan Gongloe. But that said, Tiawan Gongloe he's an excellent public servant, and I think he will make a good candidate in terms of record. But when it comes to winning, when it comes to building a collaboration, I don't see how he stands a chance of becoming a ticket on top of any of the collaboration. If he is to go solo with the LPP, the Liberian People Party, if the progressive going to resurrect again, then they need to work 100 times more. I can even say 1,000 times more than the rest of the candidates. That's the only way it will happen. For that to happen, you need the money. You need the youth to be in your corner. And from what I see, majority of the youthful voting bloc in Liberia, they love the progressive, but they are not emotionally attached to them. They are intellectually connected to them. And when it comes to voting too, I don't see how the huge or biggest voting bloc, the young people in Liberia, I don't see how they are emotionally attached to the progressive, more so the fact that the progressive has been this dot man. So that is the huge challenge that Tiawan Gongloe has. But I maintain he's an excellent candidate. We should all welcome the fact that he's jumping into the race, but I don't see how he's going to do it. But some people believe in miracles. Maybe Tiawan might be that miracle political candidate to go to win this thing, but I don't see it as yet. I'm not ruling it out, but I just don't see it. So that would do it for the first issue there. So let's talk about the second issue. The second issue here is VP Boakai takes the criminal witness stand in the Cummings trial. So today was actually day 2 of Mr. Joseph Yaman Boakai's testimony against Elizana Benedict Cummings. Look, folks, because of time, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of what Boakai said and what Boakai did not say. I am going to take a political swap at, this whole failure of the CPP leaders. So these are people who came and told us they had an agenda, and that the agenda was to make President Weah a one-term president. These were people who told us the CPP was going to hold. The idea of the CPP holding became their mantra. The CPP will hold. The CPP will hold. The CPP will hold. And in no time, these people put a framework together. In no time, they ran on this framework. They elected candidates on their framework. They celebrated their certification. Many of those people who got elected on the CPP framework are today lawmakers. They are earning their salaries. The Liberian people are paying them allowances under this particular framework document. It is their framework document they somersault, and they are telling us was authored. Whatever the truth is, that is not for me to go into who said this, who did this, who is right and who is wrong. That is not what I'm here to do today. What I'm here to do is to tell you that these people are wasting our time. And it is sad that they are doing this thing. So, Mr. Boakai testimony, first of all, I will tell you, is nothing short of a disaster. He shows zero grasp of any details on the CPP arrangement. Mr. Boakai has no in-depth understanding. He shows no grasp of the issues. It's like he was being told what to say. He was scripted. He does not show any authority in terms of understanding what was going on or has been going on in the entire CPP. So the question I ask is, where is this wisdom that Mr. Boakai, we are told, actually has? Because a wise man will not take somebody who they are in a relationship with to court, knowing that that will even pull their leg one way or the other, as we've seen today. So Mr. Boakai, we are told he's an elderly statesman, a man of immense wisdom, who has been around and experienced enough. Now, does Mr. Boakai's experience fall short of this piece of history that at no time in our nation's history that opposition in a collaboration taking another to court? Now, the last time in our nation history, when the folks we refer to as progressive, the Tipota, the Bacchus Manfield, the Dr. H. Burma formula, the D2, all of these people, when they were agitating, for social justice in Liberia, for equal participation, for the rights of Liberians to be respected in our country, when they even express their political ambition, when they have disagreed as to who to be their head here and there, they never took each other to court. Mr. Boakai has been around. Does he not know that? In fact, I did my research and it was difficult to find whether in other African countries, opposition taking another opposition to court because of any reason when they are in a collaboration. No history whatsoever. This is the first time we've seen this in our nation's history. In fact, when things fell apart in the coalition that Cllr Watson won, when others went their way, no one was taken to court. So how could this elder statement, this well-experienced man who has been around, will allow a Ure, the very Ure who told him in 2017 that Joseph Boakai would never be president? Those were Ure's voice or words. This is the very Ure that pulls him by his nose. Ure tells him what to do. He follows Ure's instruction and dictate. Where does he even have his own mind? Now, the other sad reality of this thing is Boakai is being played and used by a Sema Serena Cephas, a guy who has no integrity. This Sema Serena Cephas is caught on tape with Eddie Cockrell, a disgraced and indicted criminal, while she was serving jail term in the United States for stealing up to $6 million United States dollars. Somebody who was head of the of RIA. We heard about the scandals at that airport, and this woman's history is replete with recording people. And she was caught in a phone conversation with this Sema Serena Cephas, talking about virgin hairs for ritualistic purposes. And Ewia will keep that Sema Serena Cephas on the job because he does judge we are bidding. So, folks, it is a sad day in our nation's history that even the most experienced and elderly statement we are told has no regard for decency, for truth, and shows zero consistency. He does not display integrity. And now he's working with a Sema Serena Cephas. The idea that Boakai will sit there and allow them to be taken to a Weir's court, Weir who he calls a boy, to judge his case, speaks volume about this man understanding, and it brings to question this so-called wisdom we've been told he possesses. So, if anybody should have advised a Ure to cut off this sheer nonsense, this sheer tabata, it should have been Boakai. Boakai should have known better that going to court was not a solution to their goal. Their goal has been to defeat President Weir, who he terms as a boy. And you take a court case to that boy's court, and now you are a criminal witness. You are a criminal witness in that boy's court, the guy you want to defeat. So they usher themselves at the feet of Jawia. Sema Serena Cephas is legally romanticizing with Boakai, and Boakai has no clue what Cephas is up to. Cephas is using him. Cephas is playing him. And this case is being delayed in a court of law. And this elder statement, he goes to court and refuses to take a single question from any journalist. He walks in and walks out. So how does this give Boakai the presidency? So let's say, for the sake of argument, the Alice Cummings guy did all of the things he's being accused of, and he's found guilty. And Sema Serena Sifo, who has already announced verdict and punishment before judgment from the court, saying that Cummings is guilty, he will do community serving and go teach to a school like G.W. Gibson. Let's say all of that happens. How does that give Boakai the presidency? How does that help the so-called CPP to achieve this goal that they had in the first place, to defeat President Weah? Is that how you defeat President Weah? By undermining your serve? Is that how you do it? And as I look, and Boakai intentionally refusing to say a single word to the press, and this is a sheer display of how the Honorable Joseph Boakai is inherently incapable and incompetent when it comes to national leadership. The whole CPP thing is a national disgrace. So you see these leaders, the way they behave, what it shows is like irresponsible boys who are fighting for a girl who does not even have love for them. This is how the Boakai, the Cummings, the Ure, the Dillon, and the Nyomli, this is how they are behaving. Like irresponsible boys fighting for a young girl who has no love for any of them. And they are fighting themselves, and the girl is just looking. Really? These are the guys that's trying to woo me? I mean, I'm just going to marry a fighter or love to a fighter whose side insults and denigrates the other, and this is what I'm going to deal with? So this is Liberia's opposition against an incompetent president who too sees this as an opportunity. Where is doing all this to intimidate. But let me say this to you folks. This trial is a waste of time. The government of Liberia and the parties to the conflict are wasting our time. They don't want to talk about the issues that's happening in the country. If they were interested in talking about the issues and debating the issues and their plans and how they will lead this country, they will not be wasting their time in court, because the time, this case has been in court for over 2 months now. 2 months is significant time for you to sell your message, to promote your candidacy. But all of these parties, some of them don't even have plans. In the case of the Unity Party, they are still writing their plans. The ANC said it has a plan that it has not articulated enough. Now it's wasting its time in a court. How did the ANC even got to this point is another thing to even look at. After they call their friends all manner of names, that they are thieves, they are corrupt, they are evildoers, politically speaking, and they went in political bear with them, saying that they were going to change a Ure. This is the Ure now who buys them legally and politically, and they are struggling in the court of law. Their time has been wasted. They brought it upon themselves. So you can blame Boakai all you want. You can blame Weah all you want. These are political actors that do what they do best to minimize their opponent chances and increase their standing, but they have been sticking, especially for those in the opposition, because they does not add to you. Because if Boakai is to go to the second round, if he's running for real, right? And if he is to win, he will need all of the help he can get. That will include people in the other parties, especially in the ANC. So if these people that you are really hurting politically because their guy has been persecuted and you are testifying against him, they are not going to vote for you. So at the end of the day, votes that should have come your way for you to win will not come your way, and this will be a repeat of 2017. That Mr. Boakai will become another loser again. So how is that a good strategy? So folks, this is a waste of time. And the ANC strongman, Alexander Benedict Cummings, what does he do? While this kid is in court, when he's being accused of all of these things, instead of continually fighting this case in the court of law, he hires foreigners and paying them several thousands of dollars, as though that is even going to be admitted in the court of law. And he has a way of justifying it. I mean, will the court even use this? No, the court is not going to use it. So what is the point in the first place? But that is what Mr. Cummings is doing. He's paying foreigners several hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unlike Mr. Cummings, Yeke Koluba, somebody who has no serious understanding of governance issues and legal issues, but at least he knows that there is something called the court. Yeke Koluba has taken every case against him to that very Supreme Court or that very court. And Yeke won all of the cases against him, against the CDC government. Yeke has won every case. He's a free man today in Liberia. So for Cummings, with all this financial means and contact, we are told, to not be able to fight this thing using the Liberian court, to be running to privilege imperialists and foreigners and giving them several thousands of dollars, I won't doubt if $1 million will even be paid to this firm to craft this report or write a report that would not even be used in a court of law to exonerate him. He's only doing this to please himself, because at the end of the day, that report is only be good for Cummings, who believes he didn't do it anyway, and his supporters who believe he didn't do it anyway. So what is the point when you believe yourself and your supporters believe you, and then you are writing a report spending all this money, paying foreigners and imperialists? What is the point? Wasting that money because you have so much money? Why can't you be like Yeke Koluba at least? Fight this thing in this court and you can win it, because you have been so clear, repeatedly saying, I didn't do this thing, this is a lie. If it is a lie, the court will show it. But Mr. Cummings runs to imperialists, he runs to foreigners, he runs to just about anybody he can give the biggest amount of money to write a report that will please him and his supporters and maybe his friends and institutions probably that he's serving. But I don't know how that is going to help Mr. Cummings, because thousands of Liberians have no interest in the case. The Liberian people have zero interest in this case. They want to see political leaders who are debating the issues, who are telling them what they will do. They don't want political leaders who are fighting in the court of law, destroying each other, and acting like irresponsible boys fighting for a girl who has no love for them. And that is the way these people are wasting their time, are wasting our time. So let me come to the CDC. The CDC, I continue to say, is the worst of all. Right? These are people who were yelling all over this country that they were coming for the ordinary man and woman, boy and girl, old and young in our country, and that they even had a plan to revive our country. Fast forward, they started telling us about a pro-poor plan that they have for Liberia, and they have now resorted to intimidation tactics, thinking that they are trying to dispense justice in our country. This is not how you dispense justice. This is all politics. But I don't blame the CDC. The bunch of irresponsible political leaders offer themselves as a burnt offering to the CDC, so the CDC will burn them. But to the CDC, I must say, This intimidation tactics is useless and is dead upon arrival because it does not add anything to our country. Instead, it diminishes our country. It reduces our country to people who are unserious and don't care about moving this country forward. So this is how you dispense justice. What happened to the 3 missing boys? Does the Solicitor General not know about the 3 boys that got missing in Liberia? Those 3 boys have not been seen yet. They were dispatched by sent by St. Moses, the guy who has the funeral home. That guy is a free man. Those boys are nowhere to be seen. Liberians have protested. Liberians have called for justice. This government is yet to launch a serious investigation. They have no interest in spending the very time they're spending on this case in a court of law to find the doers. They have no time. Those young people's life completely cut short. This Serena Sieh has no time. And this Sieh guy is persecuting his kid, and his boss, right? Musa Dean is asking him for evidence. You ask him for evidence that has been in court for almost 2 months. Almost 2 months into the case, that is when your boss is asking for evidence. And as we speak, they are yet to put forth the evidence. And you think this is about dispensing justice in our country? What happened to the auditors? What happened to the auditors? The time that they are putting in. This case is almost like in court every week. Did they put the same time in for the auditors? No, they did not do that. Yusua died, Gefty died, Fambutu died. All these people died in that manner. Their government did not put the same effort, the same time, and the resources. They didn't put that amount of time and resources in those cases. These were public servants who were murdered under mysterious circumstances. We did not see the Solicitor General trying to get to the bottom of who killed those Liberians. And now, out of solving a case in which his boss is asking him for evidence, is the one now he sees as so important to the forward march of this country. So, folks, you see the political nature here. As we speak, we have cases of corruption. This very Serena Sieh, he was the head of something they have called Ariat. And they said they were going to recover about $4 billion Liberian dollars, allegedly, according to them, that was stolen by the past administration. This Sieh guy and another lawyer, they were given about 100,000 and more to go after that money. Serena Sieh shows zero interest in pursuing this so-called imaginary $4 billion United States dollars he said that was stolen from the Liberian government. He has no interest in it. Maybe if this government was about justice and fighting corruption and not about persecuting political enemies, they should have done everything to have gone after the $4 billion they claim was stolen by Liberians. Did the CDC government show any interest? Of course not. The few 100,000s that were given to this very Serena Sieh, they squandered the money. They dragged those cases. And folks, you think this is about justice? No, it's not about justice. This is CDC trying to go after its political opponents, politically using our laws and our courts shamefully, but they have no shame. And their goal here is simple. The CDC wants to just intimidate the opposition. And I don't blame them for it, but that is not right. The CDC wants to diminish and make the opposition to look bad, and the opposition look for it. Look, let me tell you, 3, 5, 6 things can be true at the same time. And that is what is going on here, folks. These people, they are not for our country. The opposition and the government, they are wasting our time. with this completely useless and politically motivated case. I do not see how this case is worth our time. I do not see how this case going to add any value. I don't see how this case is going to move our country forward other than this case taking everything away from this country in terms of respectability, in terms of our time, in terms of our resources, in terms of setting bad examples. This is what the case does. I don't think the CDC is opting for political trouble here. The CDC is doing all this just to humiliate the opposition. The CDC is just playing you do me, I do you politics. This is the opposition that been on the CDC neck and has been criticizing the CDC, holding the CDC to the feet to the fire. The CDC was in complete shambles. They got rattled with corruption and the opposition could not get a chance. The CDC could not breathe. The opposition was on their back. They didn't know what to do. But then the very opposition shot itself in the leg, started fighting among themselves, and took themselves to CDC court. So CDC said, oh, wow, what a blessing in disguise. So the CDC now grabbed them and put its net on their back and said, you will be suffocated here. This is what the CDC is doing. The CDC is going to nail them and nail them politically, but in the court of law, and that is what the CDC is doing. Because the whole thing, if you look at it, whoever wins this case, whether Cummings wins it, whether Cllr loses, it does not add anything to the CDC. If there's anything is to add to the CDC, is the fact that the CDC is making them to look bad in the face or in the eyes of the Liberian people. And the CDC is getting that dividend. Make them to look bad. These are the people that are supposed to replace the CDC. And the Liberian people are looking at them fighting among themselves. They are not even in government yet. Look at the fight. Look at the insult. Look at the disrespect. Look at the waste of time. Look at the childishness that's coming from them. Look at the arrogance that's coming from them. And these are the people you're going to give power? The Liberian people are just watching and say, wow, how could these people behave this way? They said they were the better ones. And this is all they do. This is how you show that you are better than the other. I mean, if this thing can work, why couldn't these people just adopt a resolution, nullify the whole thing, and go their separate ways? But then they offer themselves to the CDC, and the CDC is enjoying. So the CDC, I am not sure, is opting for any political chaos here, because if anything is done that will stop these two men who have been the forerunners in the opposition bloc from running, it will be chaos in Liberia. And if anybody who will be the biggest loser, should we get any political chaos or uprising on our hands as a result of denying these two persons, Boakai and Cummings, from running for the presidential camps 2022, it's not going to play out well. I don't think Liberians and their supporters are going to take it. Liberia will plunge into chaos, and the biggest loser will be the CDC. Because if the elections, or if the presidential election is not to be here because you deny the man and the country, or plunges into chaos, when the CDC term expires, President Weah is no longer president. I don't think the CDC wants that. The CDC is only doing this to make them look back so that it can increase its chances and turn the Liberian people off from the opposition and only look at the CDC. That way, during election time, the CDC might be voted by the Liberian people, given that the opposition has actually shown its true color, that is visionless. It is no alternative. They are nothing but, behaving like boys of irresponsible, behaving like irresponsible boys fighting for a girl. That is what the CDC is doing. And I don't think the CDC will want to go as far as denying these men the right to participate in the upcoming election. Because if the CDC does, the CDC will become the biggest loser. There will be chaos. They will have their job no more. At least they can bet on the fact that they may be considered. And that is the dividend they are looking up to. So, folks, if you want to ask me, how do I know that is not the ultimate goal of the CDC order them to make them low bar, to minimize their chances so that the Liberian people will not take them serious. Then look at the by-elections that were held since the CDC came to power. The opposition and some independent candidates won majority of all the by-elections that were held in Liberia since the CDC came to power. And what did the CDC do? The CDC considered defeat. Yes, the CDC did not do a much better job in the elections, but the elections went well, relatively well, because Liberian people were peaceful. There was some noise here and there. We saw attacks at the National Election Commission headquarters. Vehicles were burned. Yeah, things happen, right? District 15, there was chaos. Things happen, right? But at the end of the day, the CPP, the opposition, independents, they won the CDC in most of these by-elections. The CDC did not deny them of taking seat, except for Brandon Samoka, and that having to be due to the court case against him. So either way you look at it, the CDC has been able to concede defeat whenever it did not win. So the CDC loses nothing, absolutely nothing, when Cummings wins the case or when Cummings loses the case. The CDC loses completely nothing. So whichever way the case goes, CDC doesn't care. CDC is only going to benefit that these people are looking, they are bad, they are not serious people, and that is what the CDC is looking for. So folks, I will now leave it there on this Boakai testimony, and to conclude that this is a complete waste of our time. Boakai, Cummings, and all these people, they are wasting our time. The government CDC is also wasting our time. These people should now forget about this court case and can't tell us what they will do for our country, because elections are just next year. We don't have the time to wait with a useless case that does not add anything to this country. Whether Boakai testify, whether they bring the 46 or 36 witnesses, it's not going to change anything. This thing is a disgrace. This thing is a waste of time. And these people that call themselves leaders in our country, they are nothing short of embarrassment to our nation and a waste of time of the fellow citizens who somewhere or the other have no choice other than to look up to these men for leadership. And this is how they show the leadership. Thank you for showing your true colors. What a sad picture indeed. So folks, the next thing I'm going to look into here is the 2022 national budget. Where is the alternative from the opposition? And before I go into this one, folks, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to rip the budgets apart. I'm going to show you that the government that we have, that government of George Manawia, the guy that said has Liberia at heart, I'm going to show you some numbers. I'm going to analyze the budget politically, but I will also bring in how the opposition too has been completely useless in holding the CDC accountable on this budget. Stay tuned. When I come back, you want to see this one. The numbers are bad. The numbers shows that our leaders are unpatriotic. Stay tuned, and I will be right back after this break.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Dennis, thank you. And folks, I'm back with you, and we are going to take a brief look at the budget, do a little bit of a political analysis here quickly on some numbers of the budget. So folks, talking about the approved 2020 national budget crafted by the CDC, they did everything to get it approved. And the budget is how a sitting government shows who or what it actually is. This is how it shows itself love versus showing the people off. If the government means well for the Liberian people, we will see that through the budget, because the budget is that tool, that financial instrument that a government uses to govern the country, to improve and provide basic social services in the country. So how the budget looks, what is in the budget for the people, going to tell us whether or not that government cares, whether that government is patriotic, whether that government is for the people, or it is for just the officials who are there for the money. So my take on the budget, first of all, is that this is the same usual act of legal corruption that continue to be exhibited by the CDC government and all other governments in the past. Now, if you look at the budget, they have more money in the budget for these greedy and unpatriotic government officials, and what they have in the budget, folks, nothing but crumbs for the people of Liberia. So let's look at some numbers here quickly, folks. Don't go anywhere. So let's start with President Weah, the guy who loves this country. President Weah in 2021, his office budget was $3.3 million. In 2022, President Weah budget jumped from $3.3 million to $5.4 million. That is the proper president. That is the proper president. Now, look at that, $5.4 million for President Weah. Now, the office of the vice president, Joel Howard Taylor now is firmly in the CDC corner, and the CDC is politically trying to keep her in their corner. Bear you in mind, folks, election are just next year. We are about 60 months to election. About 16 or 18 months to election, folks. So what the CDC does this time, the CDC increases Joel Howard Taylor budget by 100%. 100% they increase Joel Howard Taylor budget. Joel Howard's 2021 budget was in $2 million. Now they raise it to $4 million. You know what they're doing? I am surmising they put the extra $2 million in there so that it can be used for campaign. Because just as Joshua is campaigning on the other side, Madam VP got to be on the other side to campaign. So the CDC is being strategic here, but this strategy is a weaker strategy that is at the detriment, at the displeasure and the suffering of the Liberian people. And you think the proper government cares? No, it cares not. So let's look at the office of the speaker. This is Buffer's Chamber. Buffer's Chamber 2021 had $1.4 million, all right, as his office budget. Now in 2022, the speaker, he's from the Southeast. He's got to be helping President Weah to campaign in Maryland County, right? His budget goes up to $2.1 million. So folks, these boys, these heartless, greedy, unpatriotic citizens calling themselves leaders and thinking that they care about people, this is all they are doing for themselves. What are these people going to do with all this money in 12 months? You call yourself a proper government, and a proper speaker was able to survive on $1.4 million in 2021, and you think he can't even call it down? Because if at all he needed so many things in 2021, and he was able to get those things, some of those things should not be needed now in 2022. So why increase his budget? But that is what they have done with all of them. Why? Campaign is coming, they need the money. They want to be able to maintain power. Office of the Deputy Speaker. And the Deputy Speaker is J. Fonati Kofa. He and myself from the same town of Sasna, and he's from Grand Cru, where I'm from as well. 2021, he had $1 million. 2022, they gave him 1.6. So technically, they gave him an additional 500,000 United States dollars. They added a $500,000 to his budget. Why? He has to go and make the case in Grand Cru County. So in 2021, if he had $1 million as his budget, because he needed certain things, if he got these things, I don't think he will need those things now in this budget here. But why they do? They increase the budget. For what reason? I don't know. The only thing I can think about, campaign is coming. The speaker must campaign. for CDC to win so that maybe he can maintain his position as speaker, and then the money will continue to roll. Folks, let's look at the office of the Senate Pro Tem, another guy from Gongloe County, my county. These guys are heartless. These guys are ruthless when it comes to thievery, and that is who actually they are. They are unpatriotic. They don't care about these people. Gongloe County has no roads. All the schools in Gongloe County are in dilapidating condition. I just showed you the budget of the deputy speaker from my county of Gongloe, just from Antikofa. The school, the government school in our hometown of Sastan, where he's from, where I'm from, where George Weah is from, that school has not been renovated since George Weah came to power 5 years ago. They are increasing their budget when that school lies in ruin. And you think that is nationalistic? And you think that is patriotic? And you think that is not greed? That is greed to the highest order. But that is your proper government that some of you seditionists celebrate. And that they are the best thing that ever happened to this country. Let me progress, folks. Office of the Chief Justice. Chief Justice Papa gets $224,000. So Papa is the guy who they are not showing love. Papa is not getting that much love, folks. Papa budget is, I think if it is proper, maybe if anybody is proper in this budget, maybe that Papa. This is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. He gets a $224,000, while the president gets 5.4, while the vice president gets 4.2. Folks, the Chief Justice is not even close to 500,000. So if you look at the budget, the deputy speaker gets 5 times more money than the Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. I will pin it for you. Now, here is the most loved woman in our country, Liberia. Madam Cllr, we are the First Lady, Office of the First Lady, 700,000 United States dollars for the Office of the First Lady. The First Lady gets more money than the Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. The man who runs the court. No wonder why justice is on sale at our courts. Because if the Chief Justice can get $224,000 as his budget, while the First Lady gets $700,000, which is technically a little over $400,000 more than the Chief Justice, then folks, you can only think that justice is off for sale in Liberia for real. What is the First Lady going to do with the money? All of a sudden, she's a humanitarian. She uses state resources to become a humanitarian. Is she even getting audited? No, she's not getting audited nowhere. This woman is not being audited. This woman is being given budgetary allotment. She should be subjected to an audit. But the thing is, some people are being audited. They are caught in a web of corruption. The president takes zero action, and you think his own wife, he's going to, make sure that she faces justice if she's ever audited and even caught. I mean, she would never ever be audited in the first place. If they're even going to audit her, what they're going to do is going to cook the books for her. It is sad what these people are doing in our country. But folks, I just showed you the budget of the B lawmakers, speaker, deputy speaker, Abache, and then the proper president. I just showed you their budget, right? Now, let's look at the counties that they come from, how they're showing the counties love compared to how they show themselves love, folks. Let me give it to you here quickly. Folks, I don't want you to cry. Please do not cry. Do not cry for your country, Liberia, because I am not going to help you to wipe your tears. My job is to give you the truth, the numbers, and the records, and nothing else but the truth, the records and the facts, and then I will allow you to cry your own cry. So, folks, here you have it. Here are the allotments for our counties. if you look there carefully, each county get 200,000 for county development funds. Then each county get $13,333 for something they call CFC. Now, the other figures you see, they have money there for commodity forestry agreement arrears. They have money for forestry sharing agreement. And those who have concession agreements in their counties, they have some money in millions. But what our government has set aside from the national budget for our counties is a 200,000 for each county and a 13,000 for each county as well. So, folks, Joshua is getting almost 100 times more than what each county gets for development. Abache gets more money than the county he's come from, Grand Crew. The speaker gets more money than the county he comes from, Maryland. The deputy speaker gets more money than the county he comes from, Grand Crew. Joel Howard Taylor is getting about 20 times more than the county she's from, Bond County, I'm told. All of these officials are from the counties. They are getting more money than the counties that they come from. Folks, if that is not unpatriotic, if that is not greed, if that is not wickedness, then I don't know what to make of it. How in the name of the Lord that some of you serve, that the president gets more money than an entire county? That even, let's forget about the president, then the first lady, who is not constitutionally an officials of government, gets a 700,000, which is almost 500,000 more than what the counties get. How does that make sense? How in the name of God it makes sense? But I will show you more numbers here quickly. Folks, we got the numbers. So President Weah is getting $5.5 million. Joel Howard Taylor is getting $4.2 million. So let's use that as our yardstick and bear that in mind, folks. And some of you will cry here, and I'm not going to help you. On the average, the lawmakers, the two houses in the legislature, they are getting $64 million. A jump from 38 million to 54. So technically, folks, when you look at it, they have gotten almost a 50% increase in the budget. In the last budget year, they gave each county 200,000. It is the same 200,000 technically they gave the counties for development. So while they got almost 50,000 increment in their budget, the counties got zero, even though they are from the counties. So if you look at Redemption Hospital, to my friends, I'm from Nicru Town. To my friends in Nicru Town who worship Joshua, who see him as the God of the nation. He's the best thing that ever happened to our country. Joshua's wife is getting 700,000. Redemption Hospital gets less than 200,000. Folks, we have the numbers here. Redemption Hospital is getting far less money than what Cllr gets. How is that law for the people of Nicru Town who rely on Redemption Hospital? And by the way, Redemption Hospital does not only serve people in Nicru Town, it serves Liberians across the country. People come from different countries to go to Redemption Hospital to seek care. Cllr gets more money than Redemption Hospital. Cllr gets more money than the hospital in Grand Crew County where President Weah is from. So, folks, I mean, how does this make sense to anybody? How does it make sense? It does not make sense in no shape and form. No, it does not. So, folks, these are just the numbers I wanted to share with you. And now, as you can see on the screen there, we have the National Security Agency gets $11 million. the Executive Protection Service right there. All right. Let me make it big here quickly. You see there? The National Security Agency gets 11 million. The Executive Protection Services, EPS, they got 10 million. The Liberian National Police get 5 million. So even George Weah is getting more money than the police. The president, the pro-poor president, is getting more money than the entire police force in our nation. No wonder why when you see the police uniform, you feel so ashamed for our country. A president calling himself pro-poor president is getting more money in the budget than the entire police force of our nation. No wonder why these police can't do anything. Then we'll talk about the armed forces of Liberia. The armed forces of Liberia is the fighting force of the nation. They are there. These are the gallant men and women who have volunteered to serve our country, to provide security throughout our borders. What happens? The office, the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, where President Weah is, gets about $20 million. More money than the armed forces that covers the entire country. Folks, are you following this thing? The Ministry of Presidential Affairs houses the office of the president. That's the president there. His entire ministry gets 20 million. And what the armed forces of Liberia get? They get 16 million only. We have more numbers here. There you have it. Presidential Affairs, 20 million. That is 20.3 million. Okay? So how can the Minister of Presidential Affairs get more money than the army that's supposed to provide security for the entire nation? When was the last time any of you ran into somebody going to the Ministry of Presidential Affairs to work? Does the Ministry of not Internal Affairs, but Presidential Affairs, does it even have offices in all the counties? How big is the Ministry of Presidential Affairs anyway? The Ministry of Presidential Affairs is even getting more money than the University of Liberia. No, man. This is not proper. This is complete heartlessness on the part of this government that claims to be proper. So I don't want to make you to cry here. And why this government is doing all of this, allotting more money, carry on legalized corruption, and they're doing so because they want more money for campaign, and they're doing this to keep our people to suffer. In fact, if you look at the what you call the Monrovia Consolidated School System, this is an entire school system in Monserrado County, predominantly in the Monrovia area. It has so many schools. That whole system gets only $3 million. President Weah gets 5. The last time President Weah visited Tottenham, that school remains in ruin today. That is the school Samuel Tuer comes from. That school has not been renovated. Yet they are renovating an executive mansion that has not been in use for all the years. They continue to pour money in there. Why these schools continue to be run where the poor people children going? They are not renovating the schools. They continue to budget little or nothing for these schools. The president is getting more money. And the people, some of them are even celebrating him for that. I don't know where our people, I don't know where do we come from, by the way? So folks, it is heartbreaking for you, and you think that you will have an opposition that will be able to hold this irresponsible, heartless, greedy, and corrupt government feet to the fire. You think you will have an opposition to do so, right? Unfortunately, you do not have one. They are in court and they are fighting. You think you will have an opposition? The opposition is not even explaining this budget. You should have an opposition that is explaining this budget. Where is the Alexander Benedict Cummings and the ANC, who claim that they are the alternative National Congress? So what is the alternative they are providing when it comes to the budget? I was listening to Mr. Cummings the other day. They said, well, they're going to do something about the budget. I think he meant that they were going to release an alternative budget, maybe. Why are they just making promises that they can't even keep? Where is the Unity Party that claims to be the biggest party that has all the qualified people? And of course, yes, they do have a lot of qualified people, well-educated people. But what meaning is your education if it does not do anything for the people? What does it mean? Or just for you to have the titles, doctor, master, and all that? So this is a Unity Party that was in power for 12 years and left this template of this corrupt budget with CDC, and CDC is using it. So it's obvious why it cannot even come to project an alternative budget, one that would be different from what the CDC is offering. Where is the LPP of Tiawan Gongloe? They've been around, they've been in this business of political advocacy, advocating for the truth, advocating for social justice, claiming that they have been advocating for the people. Where is their alternative budget? Benina Ure doesn't have a political party, he has a club. The man does not able to write, he does not able to write anything. I don't think he can write anything meaningful. So let us count them out. I mean, who's going to write it? Acosta going to write it? Or that Cllr you're going to write it? Or Ure himself going to write an alternative budget? In fact, he sold all his political rights to Boakai, who he said would never and ever be president. He's just doing it for what he gets at the end of the day. So you're not going to get any alternative budget for an ALP, no, zero. Then let's come to the Liberty Party of Councillor Charles Walker-Bronsky. They are in tatters, they are in pieces. Nyomli takes a piece, Bedete takes his piece, and a cheat, Dillon, and a liar is in the middle. Can the Liberty Party give us an alternative budget? No, they will not do it because they are fighting. They are not about the Liberian people, they are about themselves. And so in all of this, the guy claiming to be clean hands, the Cummings, the party, the ANC that are telling us they are the alternative, they are making promises on giving the Liberian people an alternative budget. So Sally and Sally, fellow Liberians, we do not have any alternative. When it comes to the opposition, they can't even debate the budget. They can't even explain the budget, how bad it is to the Liberian people. They have no interest. They rather insult each other and throw jabs and just make palaver with everybody on social media. That is what they have interest in. How this budget affect the ordinary man, they don't care to go and explain that. How the budget undermine development, how this budget is a complete, corruption instrument intended to just benefit the government officials. They don't have any interest to explain it. Apparently, they want to come and do the same exact thing. So they don't want to do it. So how difficult it is to come and craft an alternative budget for the opposition to use. Some of us always say we criticize and we do not give a recommendation or we don't make suggestions. So let me give you a suggestion. Let me make a recommendation to this useless for nothing opposition that we have. So this is a judge we are calling himself a proper government that crafts a budget that gives himself $5 million. Can the ANC, the Unity Party, craft a budget? No, let me do a piece by piece. Let me deal with the ANC. ANC, your guy Cummings has money. I heard from somebody who supports the ANC that Mr. Cummings said he's only going to take, $1 as his salary when he becomes president. So what's about this? Why, if you craft a budget and under the office of the president, you call it the ANC budget, under the office of the president, you put $1 for Mr. Cummings as an alternative budget, and the entire $500 million, you put it to the police. St. Joshua is giving the police a $5 million while he gets $5.4 million. Then you put that $5 million to the police. They need uniform, they need training. We need to hire more police officers. Most of the countries have no police officers. My ground crew must be having less than 15 or 20 police officers. The entire county. Who keeping the peace there? Our people keeping the peace. So why the ANC can do that? Now, if you look at the legislature got an increase of about $30 million. We're not talking 1,000 here. 30 million. Why can the ANC craft a budget and that excess of 30 million added to the legislature, you put it to education? Or you can use that 30 million to renovate all the government schools in Liberia. We did not show that you care, but what they are doing, they are fighting on people. They are attacking me. They are attacking everybody who criticizes Mr. Cummings. That is what they have interest. The things that will project them as an alternative, they don't have interest in it. So ANC folks, let me ask you, where is your alternative budget? When are you ever going to come up with it? This thing should be simple. Take the budget. It's in PDF, exported in a Word document. Move the numbers around. The SS that these people gave themselves in increments, put it to health, put it to education, direct some of it to roads, put some money in the budget for Zogos. The whole country is being Zogorized. Folks, it is a sad day for our country. We are in a sad period indeed. We have an irresponsible president, irresponsible government that is about corruption every day. And you think I'm joking? There's a new report out there. Maybe I'll find time tomorrow to look into it. The National Road Fund, that money that's being collected, the National Road Fund was created by an out-of-national legislature. I will take time to talk about this tomorrow, but let me give you a gist here. So they had opened an account, and the accounts were opened by law. This is an act. This is law passed, creating the National Road Fund. And the National Road Fund account, instead of the money, the levies being taken from fuel and cars and all that to go into that account, that money is being placed in government consolidated accounts, and the Ministry of Finance is Samuel Tway uses that money to pay salaries. That is a violation of the act creating the National Road Fund. That is corruption. And not only that, some of the money that went into the consolidated account instead of the National Road Fund account, some of the money cannot be accounted for. The money went in there, and it was the purpose for roads reconstruction and rehabilitation, but that money is being used to pay salaries. They send the money into the consolidated account, and they cannot take it now to put all of the money in the road fund. It should not have gone there in the first place. It should not have been used to pay salaries, but they've done it. And when they were trying to put the money back, they didn't put all the money back. This is the government that we have. And this is the government that say is up for justice and investigating another people in the court of law. It is corruption week after week. The bad news continues for this country. So, folks, I will tell you, this government is no good. The opposition is also no good. So let me land with the ANC, because they are claiming to be clean hands, and the Unity Party is correct. The Unity Party was there. We saw their budget. Their budget is a complete photocopy of what Joshua is doing. So don't expect an alternative budget from Unity Party. I do not expect one from the Liberty Party either, because those folks that are running that political party, they are incompetent. I don't expect that from Benin Nayure. He has a club. It's not a political party. And where is the Tiawan's Gongloe people too? Can they come up with an alternative budget? I will be on these people's back. You want to do this thing, do it. If you don't want to do it, get out. Don't waste our time. We're not here to share sympathy for anybody. If you think we're coming across as trying to just go after people, oh yes, we want a better country, for Christ's sake. Give us an alternative budget. This one we have here is bad. It is a tool for corruption. It is a tool to subjugate our people into poverty. And you want to be president, you can't give us an alternative budget to show that you will do it differently? Unity Party can't give a one. ALP can't give a one. Liberty Party cannot give one. And LPP too. They really? The veterans, where are they? And then Cummings is making promises. Will we even get it? I don't know. This thing should have been done on day one. The CDC drafted the budget, they've been around going through here and there for over a year. They have never thought of it. You know why? Their goal is to make one man president, and that's their goal. As though that's going to solve our problems. The last time I checked, Ellen was there. Our problems did not get solved. To provide reliable drinking water only in Monrovia. After 12 years of rule, it did not happen under the Unity Party's government. If that is not a clear example of how the government of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was giving money for Cllr grains to go for Liberia and gave a dry rice with piece of money, then I don't know. In other words, I'm saying the Ellen government got so much money and they did nothing. Absolutely. Little they did for our people. You can't provide electricity. Just only in Monrovia. Nothing. 12 years. Huge money came. Phew. I don't think the CDC government came and started breaking down the poles and destroying this transformer and breaking down the hydro. No, they didn't do that. They made absolutely nothing correct in place. They inherited it and they themselves don't know what to do. That is our story, and it is sad. So, folks, that is how I will bring my analysis to close here. I talk about Tiawan Gongloe, who is here in the US, trying to raise money and meet Liberians in the diaspora. And I also talk about VP Boakai taking the criminal witness stand in the Cummings trial, day 2. And I also just concluded with a meaningless budget of 2022 that was brought to us that represent nothing but the usual tool of corruption, while the opposition sits idly by, does nothing, and has no alternative budget to bring to us. I will not apologize to anybody for speaking my opinion in this way, because we all have to get serious, and that will include all of us. If we are playing joke, taking partisan lines, thinking that it's going to help us, it's not going to help us. But I want all of you who believe in a partisanship to be partisan. Some of us will not be, because it has nothing to our country other than worshiping individuals who are themselves are not ready for prime time. Folks, that is how we will bring down the curtains here. But before we do, we want to do justice to you and read a few of your comments. And after that, we will be calling it a day. So let me read comments. I know some people are always dealing with me, and I love that part. I'm watching from Louisiana. Thank you there for watching. That is Derek A. George. Jennington W. Tano. Ansony, hello, my dear brother. Thank you there. Jimmy Eastman watching from Washington. Jimmy is a member of Focus on Liberia On Point team. Councilor Tiawan say Gongloe is the next president. If he wants to be president, he needs to get it together. I don't think it's together yet. We also have Bendura Brown watching from Virginia. Thanks for joining us and watching. We appreciate that. Afra writes, my new budget, the new Liberia will exceed $7.5 billion. Oh, this person said they're coming with their budget. Thank you. Afra, they're coming with a serious budget. That one is serious, but the one we have here is not serious. Afra again, poor people done for president. Let me leave it there. Let me hear from Alfonso Rice. There's nothing called a criminal witness. It is witness in a criminal trial. That is my choice of words, and I know you disagree, and I respect that. He's a criminal witness. That's what it is. He is a criminal witness in a criminal case. That is your opinion, and you are very biased. I don't know if you're talking about me, then I respect yours. Yuri Acosta telling Boakai what to say, but he will regret it. There's somebody there. Yeah, from Hamilton, what do you call a weird quote? Total nonsense you are spewing out. That person is dealing with me. That is weird code, and I don't apologize for that. Mianta, stupid is when you know the truth, hear the truth, but continue to believe the lies. That is Mianta. She's always tough here, very critical of me, something I really appreciate. So since Yureto Cummings to court, it means it is done for Boakai and the opposition and a victory for the CDC, right? Where did you derive the phrase criminal witness from? People are speaking their mind, and that is the beauty. It's a shame on the part of the leaders of opposition bloc to have each other being sued. This is unheard of, and a friend Washington Boakai could not be on point there. James or Mumbara Cummings asked you to go to court, and they are in court, right? I couldn't agree with you. That is true, and that is your restricted opinion right there. Let's go listen to something better. Oh, you are more than welcome. Mianta again, Liberia's problem is non-politics. Liberia's problem is illiteracy. Knowledge is power. Education is the key to unlock it. And Mianta, I want you to unlock it for us. Why you got to bring, anyway, let me leave that. Let's hear from Justina Pajibo. Talk about Joseph Boakai, the lie on the oath. Mr. Cummings needs sweet in your Facebook nonsense life. Justina, I know you are supporting Mr. Cummings, so you don't like for people to critique him, and I respect that. Since I'm holding Mr. Cummings accountable, you have to do the same to me, and I love that. Local Ansony and his mouth got to go on ANC. Do no reasoning, be out of place, and he called it analysis. Yeah, the ANC people, they are coming from my head, and that is the part that is so sweet to me. There are other parties to go in the second round. ANC will not be in that party. Justina, yeah, again, you have a right to hire whoever. He has the right to hire whoever he wants. That's not your money he's using. And that is true. And I'm just saying my own too. Mianta, again, let me leave Mianta alone and go to someone else. Let's hear from Powerhouse here. The CDC take any political party to call Ansony? Of course not. You have nothing on the CDC when it comes to irresponsible opposition in-house fighting. You have a point there, but it's an opportunity for the CDC, and the CDC is using it, and that is the point I'm making. Let's hear from Paul. Whole day you are contradicting yourself, Ansony. You just criticize Cummings for bringing foreign investigators. Then you turn around and listing all the ills in our justice system. That's exactly why Cummings brought foreign people to serve. You see, that is the problem. You know, there are too many things that can be right at the same time. This is the best Cummings can do. I told you Yeka Koluba went to court every time he won. Cummings can do that. And the report that he's getting is not going to be used in court, right? Anyway, let me read the people comment. I've said enough. The CDC take the opposition to court. A person writes. I hear from Miss. This person is Karen or Kruma. Short. Oh no, you don't talk like this. 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 Roundup Thompson Sieh. Musa Berete responsible for all the nonsense only because is undercover agent for the CDC. Well, people continue to accuse Musa of that. I'm yet to get the facts here, but I know Musa is a player and he's playing as he knows best. Powerhouse, again, this is not true about this case. You are giving your personal biases about the case anyway, so talk to certify your desire, Ansony. Is that what it is? Then I respect that, but that is my opinion. You can well say yours. Ansony, you are a true patriot. You are in the company of the likes of Michael K. Francis. You are doing your country a great service. Dave Jar there, thank you, Dave Jar. Of Dave Jar, again, the speaker is a Ghanaian. He is not a global man. He is not a Liberian. Dave Jar, do you have evidence for this? Yeah, from Power. Wow, the budget is unbelievable. How can native government treat its own native people like this. Now, Powerhouse is agreeing with me here. Justina and what's the other sister, Nimianta? Can you agree with me at least on the budget? You don't want to fight me when I say the truth that bites you, right? But yeah, from Augustine Lamy, do the voters care? They just vote because of voting. This is why Liberia will continue to go to the toilet, that person. Right. So yeah, from Eugene Hammer, this is a Congo native issue again. I don't know who's talking about that. I did not say that, so I will leave that one right there. But yeah, from Marian Hill, this is what the Spoon TV CEO was supposed to be talking about this, but he's talking foolishness because he's working for the CDC government. That is an allegation against that man. Ansony is the president alone. Why not talk about the legislature? I think you heard me quite and clear there. Anthony gave from the communication team of Ellison and Benedict Cummings, right? Mr. Cummings will be on SKTV to discuss this budget. And so they know I don't want you to discuss the budget. Let your political party, the ANC, release your alternative budget. I don't want talking points. Release your budget. Tell the Liberian people how you would do it if you were in power. What will you give for education? What will you give for a President Cummings if he is ever to become president of Liberia? Do that. Is that difficult for you people? Then hire me so I can do it for you. I charge you $1 million. Cummings is paying people several thousand to write a report, right? You don't have to hire me. There are more people out there that can get a job done. That's what I'm saying. I come here prepared to be tough, and I'm not going to apologize to anybody. Mayfi Deco, this budget had me crying, tears from my eyes when I took time and went through it. Well, my brother, if only I've had all the time in the world to show you all the numbers, you will not only cry, but you will be fainting. Answering, how would they come up with an alternative budget unless they know what the expenditures are? That is the point, Jimmy. That is the point. These people are not ready for prime time. And if anybody is to tell them, I will be one of those persons. If nobody will tell them, I will do so. The budget goes to show the importance of war and economic crime code in Liberia. Liberians do not get to benefit anything in a substantial way from this budget. Very sad. That is Deconti J there writing the comments. Now here from John Williams, I am a bit confused. Are you here asking the opposition to give you and the Liberian people an alternative budget? Yes. Yes. And yes. How will you do it? The opposition is a government in waiting. Tell us how you do it. They run around here and they tell us that they will govern differently. They will govern better. Right? What are you going to use to govern? It is the budget. So show us your budget. Show us your budget. So my answer is yes. If I were in any opposition political party, every year we'll release our alternative budget to show the contrast between the government budget and ours and to show that we can do it better. So yes. Is that a crime? You people need to get ready for this country. Now, yeah, for Spencer as to what is the purpose of the alternative budget. You want to know the purpose? I just explained it. Well, folks, beautiful people of Liberia, I want to say thank you and always thank you for coming to Focus on Liberia to get balanced, thorough, biting analysis. Some people don't like it. They dismiss it because it bites them, because it bites their political leader and they can't stand it. But this is all you're going to get. And that's all you're going to get. And I don't take offense, when you throw a little jab at me, right? I laugh, I smile, because it's nothing. That is your way of standing for your political leader. Maybe that is your way of standing for your country. But the beauty is that is your way of holding me accountable. And if anyone is to be held accountable, I too must be held accountable, because what I say here may have an influence on another person. I am a representation of our country, and I will not always be right, just as you are always not right. Sometimes when you come at me like that. And sometimes I'm not always right too when I go at your political leaders. But I tell you this, I'm always on point, and I will remain on point until the glorious land of opportunity by God's command comes to Liberia. Until when that happens, until we see leaders who are visionary enough, who are responsible enough, We will continue to critique them. We will continue to do the analysis. We will continue to elevate the issues. And you listen to me, I criticize all the leaders. I have no side, and my side will only be our country. Some of you don't see it, you will see it one day. I started here when some people didn't agree with me. They agree with me more now. They even love me. Those of you criticize me, I think are the ones who actually love me more. Let's do this for our country, and let us not do it for no man. But when we do it for our country, and when our country gets better, we will all be proud that we have a country that we can go to. One, we can tell our friends, but this one, we know it. It's not what we want it to be. That is why we are not there. We are not there because there are no opportunities for us. And those who are there are depending on us. And there are so many that individually we can't help them. We can't answer all the calls. We can't honor all the requests. But if we better the country, when they get the opportunity to work too, maybe the pressure will go off our back a little bit. You see that picture? That is what I'm painting. And you don't see it. You see a political leader suffering in political wilderness, and you're coming from a neck. This neck is thick, you can't call it, because it's the neck of the truth. And the truth will set me free as I preach it for Liberia. I love you. The song we play always is called We Are All Liberians. And that song, as always, will take us home. So, folks, until I see you again, the name is simple. The name is Ansony Sieh, saying to you, bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.